Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mind Your Buffalo podcast. This is your host Ravikant, aka the Buffalo Intellectual. And sorry for not being regular on the podcast. I've been traveling a lot. Those of you who are following me on Instagram, where I usually post my things, my updates. So I've been traveling a lot, doing the live shows. In a way, so the live show that I do is not really a comedy hour, even though the event usually takes place in a comedy venues. I always tell the audience it's a live version of my podcast. So if you buy a ticket to my show, you're just getting a live version of this podcast. And unlike this podcast, which you can play over and like come back later, like that is an exclusive performance for that group of people. And it's like a personalized conversation where I can say a lot of stuff which I would rather not put out on YouTube and things like that. So I've been doing those as a way of promoting my dumb shit book, Meet the Savarnas. Um, and I've been traveling a lot. I did one live show in Hyderabad. Then I went to Bombay, did one show there. Like that was a good turnout. It was a very I enjoyed that show a lot. Then I was in last week in Delhi and did another show in Gurgaon. Before all of these live shows, of course, I'd gone to Wardha to kind of give a copy of my book to Anup Bhai and visit the Nalanda team and the Nalanda campus, which is coming up in Wardha, which is fantastic. And I hope to talk more about that like in a future episode and maybe get Anup Bhai to come in and talk a little bit more about this, about his journey, about the project he's building. But yeah, so I'd gone to Wardha, then I did like a book inauguration in Nagpur, then Hyderabad show, Bombay show, Delhi show, Gurgaon show, and next weekend I'll be doing the Bangalore show. Um, so it's been a little crazy. In Bangalore, the tickets sold out very quickly. I've been getting a lot of messages from people about more tickets and everything. But like maybe I'll try to go to one of the bookstores and do something there. But like yeah, if you're listening to this episode like 6 months after this has released, none of this makes any sense, right? So that's where we are. While I was in Delhi, I did so you have to do like these press things. Sometimes your publisher will set up or people will approach you to promote the book. It's all very new for me. So I did like this long form podcast with the Scroll by Shoaib Daniel. He was interviewing me. It was a good talk. It comes out, I think, in a couple of weeks, in 4th July or something like that. It was good, but like I felt a little weird because I'm just not used to doing these media type of interviews because either on my podcast I'm just talking, or in my live shows I'm just talking, I'm interacting with my audience, or I've been on podcasts like with of my friends like Anurag or people like that, or it's just Ambedkarite events where some Ambedkarite group, usually a students group, is calling me. So even when they ask questions, I don't have to think so much about where this question is coming from and like what are they really trying to get at, and I don't really have to think so much. But it was my first time. Maybe I'll get better at these interviews, but the Scroll one was a little challenging because they kept trying to get me to talk on intercaste dating and sexual relationships. And honestly, I'm a little bored of that topic because I wrote Dating Like a Savarna a couple of years ago. It went viral. It created a huge shitstorm. Like I've talked about this ad nauseum. Like the article is there, everyone's kind of like read it or knows about it. People know what I was called. People know what my position is. Like everything's there. Like there's nothing really more to unpack, but it just feels like you keep going back to that so that it has a um, currency value to it. I don't know, like I just think that my book Meet the Savarnas is talking about so much more. In fact, I didn't even want to put like a chapter on dating, but I think the publisher and like there was a lot of interest in that. What a weird society, like कितना मतलब हर किसी को ऐसे डेटिंग सेक्स के ऊपर मेरे को इंसाइट दो। क्या 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 इंसाइट चाहिए तुमको सेक्स के बारे में? Here's the insight about sex in this society. Nobody is having it. Okay? That's it. किसी को नहीं मिल रहा है, सबकी लाइफ रिप्रेस्ड है, because to truly have a great like personal sexual life, to love, to experience that, you need to have like a society where there is a concept of an inner life of the individual, where you need to have the concept of leisure, you need to have a concept of pleasure, you need to have a concept of like having very personalized goals and self actualization. None of our like Savarna elite culture, like the people who read this kind of stuff, people who want all these hot takes on dating and sex and dating apps, none of that group actually has any of these things. और अगर आप ये बोल दोगे कि आप deep नहीं हो, this is like the worst thing that you can tell to any like educated elite urban Savarna, that you're not deep, but you're not. That is the gist of my book and my 2 years of ranting on this podcast. It's so dumb. It's so just banal. Like just how completely um like elite Savarna lives have no deeper inner meaning, right? Like they're still living in these uh, like they're still living in these cliches. उन्होंने खुद के लिए stereotypes बना लिए हैं, अब उसी के अंदर जी रहे हैं, right? They only created an idea of what deep means, what profound means, what parting means, what fun means, what political means, and then they try so hard to conform to that, but none of those feelings, fun, politics, joy, is coming from a place of like inner self discovery, because there is no inner self, because that is Savarna culture. है कहाँ inner self आपके पास? So yeah, I was a little like it was a good interview. We spoke about a lot. I had fun actually. It was a great team, and it was good. But that opening part also, like when people in media interview, they are like a little bit, because a journalist, then they are trying to see the interview in a way where they're trained to kind of interrogate you a little bit. They're trained to kind of like probe you a little bit. They want to kind of do that. So I'm just not very used to that dynamic. Like even when I invite guests to my podcast, that's really not the kind of thing I do. Like I love celebrating my guests. Like मेरा फंडा बहुत सिंपल है. Like I will call you to my show if I like your work, if I look up to it, or if I like, like that, that's it. Otherwise, I'm happy just like yapping into the phone, into my phone, into my camera. So, like, मुझे logic ही नहीं समझ में आता. Like, why would I get a guest and try to like, gotcha and anyways, that's my interview. Like, I think I handled some of those questions well, but कुछ बोल नहीं सकते हैं. Like, कौन सी statement क्या? Like, I think everything I have to say on some of these things, I've just left it on the pages. Like, they say, na, ki, like, I left everything on stage. When you're an actor, you say, like, I went on stage and I left everything there. And I think if you really want to know my views on um, Savarna culture and like even dating, sex, or like politics, read the book. I think because I've every word, every sentence, I've spent a lot of time doing that. And if that gets celebrated or critiqued, I can understand. But like बाकी ओरैलिटी का कोई मतलब बचा नहीं है. वी आर इन द मिडल ऑफ द ईरान इजराइल वॉर. अभी एक महीने पहले इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान वर सेंडिंग ड्रोन्स एंड मिसाइल्स. नाउ ईरान एंड इजराइल आर डूइंग इट. Gaza is still ongoing. Ukraine is still ongoing. Like world feels surreal. Like I was wondering what I should do the podcast on, and I realized that I have intellectual fatigue now. I have mental fatigue. I have memory fatigue. I can't. I can't feel shock, horror, anger, surprise. I can't feel anything because it's just the civilizational fabric is falling apart in many things. Many things are coming off at the same time, and that's actually very very frightening. The international global order, I think, is I think one of my Patreon episodes I had talked about this, that within our lifetimes we will definitely see the use of nuclear weapons again. We've just come out, like we've just had 50, 60 years of sort of peace under the shadow of the nuclear war. So like everybody was like so terrified of what a nuclear escalation could be, especially during the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis and all, where everybody literally was confronted with the mortality of our species and our planet. They're like, oh shit, the whole planet, the whole thing, right? Everything can just disappear in minutes. Like it'll just be like boop 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 and it's gone, right? Like a few series of things escalate within 15 minutes. The whole of humanity, all the nations, all the things, all creatures, and like life on this planet as we know it goes away in like maybe 15, 20 minutes ka series of things. And that really forced a lot of, and everybody else was terrified. It wasn't just the Soviet Union and the US. Everybody else was like, shit, we are not even in it. But if the Soviet Union launches like a 1000 nuclear missiles at the US and the US launches 1500 nuclear missiles at the Soviet Union, then it doesn't matter whether you're an African nation, whether you're in Latin America, whether in Europe, whether you're in Asia, whether you're in whatever, South Asia, you're fucked, you're gone. And everybody lived through that terror. And I think that generation was a little careful with the nuclear thing, but I think that generation is aging out. And you're increasingly getting this nihilistic generation which is desensitized to violence because it has really not experienced that kind of violence, and is totally dehumanized and detached, in the social media world. And increasingly these people are coming into policy roles in politics, and or just in media discourse, just how people talk about things like war. And there's been a great desensitization of things. And sooner or later, like politicians respond to the public. This is the truth in the world over. Like they have to respond. And if the public discourse is now going to a point where they're like, nuclear wars, how bad could it be? How bad could it be? Drop a little bomb, drop it, nuke it, ek dal do, boom. Like if people are talking like that, eventually some politician is going to do it, because that's the thing. And I think increasingly we are reaching closer and closer to it. And the first country which does it, I think that's what I was talking about in my Patreon. Right now in the global order, nobody wants to be the first guy to drop a nuke. But the moment it is done, it will possibly be like some tactical thing, like in a war thing, or like maybe in the current conflict, like Israel might throw a nuclear bomb at Iran and at their nuclear development facility. So they're like, we want to, Iran can never have nuclear weapons, so we nuked its nuclear development facility, right? Because an average bomb will not do, that kind of a thing. So like they'll develop a logic for it, कि ये करना ही पड़ेगा हमको, right? And they will do like all of these kind of like song and dance and justifications for it. And then there will be the usual reaction on Twitter. Some people will be like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. And then other people will be like, oh good, this has happened, high time, blah blah. And it'll just become just another thing. And then the doors are open. Then, like, India and Pakistan can join the party, Russia can join the party, anyone can join the party. Then the party is open. And that party just ends with nuclear annihilation of our species. That's it. No biggie. No biggie. Sorry, I'm a coward. I don't like the idea of the end of our species. I know many of you who listen to this show think that I am a pessimist, think that like I'm cynical, but I call me an optimist because I don't think nuclear annihilation and the destruction of the global order is good. That's my controversial hot take. Forget about sex and dating across caste. Let's talk about nuclear annihilation. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like last month, like literally, I think a month ago, like 5 6 weeks ago, India and Pakistan were on the brink. Like every night, we were getting these like, oh, these missiles have been launched. There was a lot of fake news, and all of that stuff was happening. And in the middle of it, like somebody was obsessing over the Shah Rukh Khan wardrobe in Met Gala. This is where we are as a culture, by the way. This is where we are. Like nothing makes sense anymore. It is memory fatigue. Like one of the things that happens when a samaj, when a society, and I'm talking about India, but it applies in global discourse also. But I don't want to open the canvas so big that I start talking about global politics. I'll stick to my little corner, which is India and Savarnas. Uh, like memory, when memory collapses, it's not just a function of your inability to remember things. It's not just that you're not able to remember things. It's also like when you start, like when you can't remember things, you lose the capacity to contextualize things. आप capacity चली जाती है आपकी. You lose the capacity to uh, to look at an event and respond with the appropriate gravity or not. You don't understand like what the scale is. Like in the middle of the India Pakistan thing, like I did a whole episode on it. Like there were people who were like simping on Shah Rukh Khan's costume, and now like some of you will be like, "Oh, that's just coping mechanism. We can't like people want to like deal with things the way they want to, and like sorry, we were not horrified the way you wanted it, wanted us to be horrified." Yeah. Okay, great, good for you, good for you. Can I just say I'm done with that? That's all. That's all. Can I just say I can't take this culture seriously anymore? I can't. I just can't. Like Karnataka, they are trying to boycott, or they have boycotted, like this whole Kamal Hassan thing. The language was like just how under the surface these subnationalism issues are. It should be frightening. The frightening, one of the most frightening news stories everybody's sleeping on it. So I'm just eating on camera because hmm, because I don't know. Many of you guys think that now my book is come out, so I'm like some great big writer or some. Nothing. My life is exactly the same. Nothing has changed. Okay, nothing has changed, and my access or acceptance in Savarna worlds is exactly where it was before this had come out. That's it. It's all there is to it, right? Nothing has changed. I'm hungry. I don't give a shit. Like I don't have to like suddenly become a different person. This is what it is. I'm a slob. I live in bloody Sangareddy. I'm 39, soon to be 40 years old. Like this is it. Like I have you not been listening to this show? I can't anymore. I'm done. Who is left to impress in the society, right? Like I'll smoke, I'll have a smoke, and then five people will come and say like, um, "Oh, you can't even control." Like, तुम मत देखो ना. क्या प्रेफर करते हो कि like I'll not smoke and then I'll go and hide and do it off camera like everybody else? Why should I do that? What is this? And मेरे से ही ये like या मेरे से या किसी से भी परफॉर्मेंस करवा के क्या मिल रहा है? Like I just don't understand. Like I said, I can't take this culture seriously anymore. I can't take this society at this point in time seriously anymore because there are truly terrifying things happening in and around India, which should make Indians very scared. But because there is a collective fatigue of memory, collective loss of memory, nobody can look at it and understand how scary it is. It's like तुम्हारे सामने आग जल रही है, you're seeing a fire and you're walking straight into the fire because you've lost the capacity to look at a fire and say, oh, that's dangerous, if I walk towards it I'll burn. Right, that's where we are as a culture, right? Some episodes ago on the main show, on this show, on the YouTube show, I talked about the language fault lines, north south fault lines um, that are kind of like coming up. India is moving in a very, very scary direction because the Indian nation has to eventually address the issue of parliamentary representation, right? The south of India has less people and will continue to have less people because of the population demographics. So far, nobody in North India is saying that give us more representatives. It's not fair. Like the ratio of the number of people represented by a Lok Sabha member is like is much higher in North India than in South India. Like nobody in North India is saying this is unfair. Like one Tamil MP represents maybe 2 lakh people, but 8 lakh people in UP have only one MP. Ideally speaking, that's too big a range of population for one MP. That's maybe at least two MPs job. So nobody in North India is doing that yet, is saying that yet, but give it time, they will. It is a real problem, and South India has an absolute real legitimate anxiety ki, well, then we'll just end up becoming like a smaller region or smaller strategic importance within India. How do you resolve this? And on top of that, you have all these language based subnationalisms. And I said this in one of the episodes. It's like every episode, like I'm just it's the same things happening over and over again. No collective memory, like I was saying. I said more nations. If you look at the history of nation states in the last 150 years, more states have like many nation states have split on language issues. Language forms a core version of ethnic identity. Like, even when it's an ethnic conflict, in a lot of cases, they define their separation from another ethnic group uh, via language. Because otherwise, religion, like racial appearances, things like that, a lot of times they're in contiguous communities, in communities which are close to each other. There's not much to tell them apart. It is language which is often like, oh, you're different because you speak a different language. Foods more or less the same, spices will more or less be the same, lifestyles will more or less be the same, historically speaking. So language becomes a very important fault line, and India is in that sense a ticking time bomb because we have so many languages. Each language has a proud culture, and when something like this thing happens, which in my opinion, I'm no Kamal Hassan fan, but and I think the statement he made shouldn't have been made, but like, and he could have just like diffused the whole thing, but it was not something to go ballistic about. And people in Karnataka have gone ballistic about it, right? They went to the court, like the judge is saying funny things. Like, it is so bizarre that this should terrify, forget progressives. This should terrify people in the BJP. This should terrify the ruling party. This should terrify the RSS. Like, this is a nothing issue. It's about a movie and an actor who made a statement. But very quickly, it's things like this. If you don't dress it, if you don't manage it, it can explode. And nobody's really looking into it. Speaking of things which explode, the Air India flight, like the day the flight went down, so many people like DM'd me saying you've mentioned it in your episodes before, how India is going to have a disaster at some point. How did you know? And guys, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't make these predictions because I understand it. It's because you can see the patterns. Okay, you can see, you could, like, visually, you if you fly regularly, and I have to fly regularly since I started working, except for that brief little period during COVID when it was mostly work from home, and then when I was in Vardha. Like, I love traveling by trains, but now you can't travel by train because you don't have the time. So like, I went to Delhi for my show. Like, I would love to take a train. I would love to do like a good Rajdhani or something like that. Um, and but I can't have like 15 hours for that journey or 12 hours for the journey. I need to be at the airport in an hour. It's like that precision, and that's the reason why a lot of people who who have a certain like income bracket ke baad, if you have the capacity for it, you just have to fly. So I've been flying a lot in the last 4 5 years, and I have been seeing regularly the gradual deterioration of, like, just aviation as an industry, right? Like, I remember when I first started flying, like with some amount of regularity, it was around 2018, 2019. uh, you could go to the airports, everything seemed working fine, people looked alert, like if there was any delay, anything, right? Like, they would tell you small things, like you could notice. Now, like, everyone's tired, the staff, the security, everyone's just really edgy. You just feel that energy. Airports are cramped because a certain volume of air traffic has gone up, but airlines have not been able, like, they're just packing the people into the existing flight routes, or they're just like running the flight routes, like they're making it very cramped. So like, the plane will take off from Delhi, land in Ahmedabad, Ahmedabad to Bombay, Bombay to Hyderabad, and like the turnaround time on each of these flights is very little. So sometimes, and this has happened to me a couple of times, like, you're standing, they start calling out like, okay, people in zone this, zone that, we will be starting boarding, and you can literally see the plane on which you will get on is just taxiing in. Like, it has happened to me a few times. Like, I can literally see that the passengers from the flight which just landed in my airport, like, they are getting off, and then the last passenger will go out, and 2 minutes later we will start getting on. Like, it's like a bus service, right? What checks are they doing in that? Like, I'm not an aviation expert fully. Maybe there is a way of doing it, I don't know. As a complete illiterate in aviation security, it seemed to me like, ye kya chal raha hai, right? Like, everybody's rushing through it. um they're running around, like, I stopped flying Indigo. That's the irony. I stopped flying Indigo to start flying Air India, because Air India just felt like they had their shit together more. Because Indigo flights, like, there was this one flight. where literally I was on the runway. Like they all the passengers, you know, those buses, Indigo buses, like they took you from the terminal, they take you to the runway, and we are literally standing on the runway while the other passengers are coming out and they are getting on the bus in front of us. The two Indigo buses have come. One, people getting off the plane are getting in the bus, go to the terminal to the arrivals, and behind that bus is our bus, and we are waiting ke like acha jaldi utro to humko chढ़ना hai, right? It just didn't feel very uh like well put together. And I was reading like a lot of these reports in the newspaper, like every few weeks, sometimes every few months, you would see like a small one column story in the newspaper, like, you know, in Express or something. Oh, disaster narrowly avoided. SpiceJet flight veers off runway, something like that, you know. Like, and I just took SpiceJet, like, could be anyone. Like you were seeing a lot of these things, and like airlines like Go Air, SpiceJet. You're also reading like the financial trouble some of these companies are having. It makes you wonder, like, wait, what? Like, your company is not doing well. um, are you able to keep up with the rigorous checks which are required for something like this? So it seemed to me that whole thing was around the corner. Ultimately, aviation disasters can happen. Like it is statistically the safest way to travel, and I'm a very nervous flyer, so every time I get on the plane I'm terrified. But and if I had it my way, if I ever make enough money in my life, I will not get on the plane. If I can help it, I'll just take trains everywhere or I'll drive everywhere. But till that time, I have to fly. And I understand, like, you know, accidents can happen. But what's really scary, again, and this should be scary, is the total number of flights that have been cancelled after the aircraft. I think some 60 plus flights. I don't think I have the full number. I think only Air India, I could be wrong. Like 60 plus flights which were supposed to take off were cancelled or delayed or rescheduled or something, because they were like, let's not take a chance. Like we're doing the check, or we are doing the full check. We don't know kya kar rahe hai, but somewhere some executive decision is taken कि we just lost a plane, let's not do this, right? There was a flight from, I think, by SpiceJet, which was going to Tirupati just today or yesterday. uh, like it took off and it just like went around and said, no, let's not take a chance. And it like this is happening so often. It's like that is a real story. And while we are talking about the aircraft and aviation decline, people are forgetting that we have train disasters, loss of life in train accidents, like literally every few months, every 5 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Train disasters have become so common that, like, like the railway minister doesn't even feel the pressure to resign, because like if the railway, like, I'm a child of the 90s. In the 90s, if there was a big rail disaster, the minister had to resign. It was like it was there's just it was a thing. And here's how far we have backslided. Okay, here's how far accountability has disappeared from the society. Okay, when an accident or a tragedy would happen, मिनिस्टर क्या कर सकता है उसमें? मिनिस्टर तो नहीं चला रहा था ट्रेन, बट moral responsibility के नाम पे the minister would resign, and the public would be like, this is fucking not enough. What's the point? You resigned. Doesn't bring those people back alive, doesn't bring all the damage back. Like, we need more, we need better solutions. That's where the discourse was. And now we have a point where every time there's a disaster, ministers have to go to the site, and their marketing PR team will, like, make reels out of it and put it on social media. And like some 7 8 people will be like, can't believe in the middle of a disaster they are shooting reels. And life goes on. Life goes on. Of course they will be shooting reels at the disaster site. इससे अच्छा content कहाँ मिलेगा if you're a minister? Like, most of ministers' work is boring. You can't see a minister work. You see them at rallies, election rallies. क्या करते हैं वो मीटिंग कर रहे हैं, कॉन्फिडेंशियल मीटिंग होगी, बोर्ड रूम का फोटो आएगा. समटाइम्स यू सी मोदी पुटिंग दोस पिक्चर्स, लाइक he's in a boardroom, like you don't know what the agenda is, what the minutes of the meeting are. Ministerial work is boring work. It's behind the scenes work, right? You can't see the minister in action. Disaster is when a minister can be seen in action. वो तो आएगा इन सोशल मीडिया कंटेंट है ना, तो सबसे पहले वो बनाएगा. It shows dynamism. It shows, like, keen to. The only thing people are getting actually upset about is the tonality of it. Like, आप आपने ठीक से उसको edit नहीं किया. That video seems like it is celebrating your presence there. It's an editorial dispute. It's not a content dispute, because you do want to see the minister at the site. You just don't want to see them, the way they do it. So it's an execution issue. Let's not pretend like we have morality. Like, what morality? Mamdani ke bare mein, what is it? New York mayor. Let me look up his name. That goof. Uh, New York mayor. Mayor Zohran Mamdani. ठीक ही बोल रहा था मैं, Mamdani. Like, people are like, oh, Mamdani. Oh, he sings Shah Rukh Khan songs. Oh, look, man, he may be a great mayor. Maybe he wins. Maybe he becomes a great mayor. Maybe his politics actually make a difference to New York. Good, good for him. But that has nothing to do with him quoting Shah Rukh Khan in Bollywood. Keep your Shah Rukh Khan boner in your pants. What the fuck is happening with the society? And then I started seeing this on Twitter. Somebody discovered, like, Mamdani's wife. Like, she's a good looking woman. And people are like, oh, she's so hot. क्या प्रॉब्लम है? उनकी एक फोटो थी, like, where this guy in, this couple, they just got married and they're on the New York subway, and people are like, me and who, like, and these are progressives. These are progressives. It is a curse in this era to remember things. I have a memory when people used to think AOC, Alexandria, or, like, Cortez, like, what is her name? I'm blanking out today. I blame KFC for this. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, AOC, right? I have a memory when people used to think that AOC was like the next big thing. They were simping over her. They used to simp over her. And then she goes to, like, some, I don't know, Met Gala or where, with like, she sells Eat the Rich t-shirts, which she, you know, like, sells at profit. And now everybody pretty much is done. Like, progressives, मैं conservatives की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ. Progressives are like, AOC is a bit of a fraud. I am old enough to remember before AOC, Canadian politician Justin Trudeau. There was a whole cult of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau so hot. Everybody was simping over him. Justin Trudeau, he's so respectful. He knows quantum physics. He knows. उसके बहुत अजीब वीडियो आते थे कि, like, he's in a place and somebody will ask him, like, out of nowhere, out of syllabus question पूछ लिया, what about quantum physics? And then उसके team में बोलते, no, don't ask. And then Trudeau is like, no, I got this. And then he explains and everyone's like, whoa, he's so smart. Now Trudeau is discredited. Like, it's so funny how all of these, like, icons, like, nobody thinks that maybe that this is a political process in the US, especially with all the lobbyists and all these wheeler dealers. and all these, like, there's so many movies, god damn it, in the last 30 years there've been so many movies, TV shows. They literally tell you what their political system is. There'll be some people who are like, campaign specialists, lobbyists, who will pick you up if you tick the right boxes. And then, like, some like super PAC funding will come behind you, it will align behind you. They will push you as a candidate depending on what election and what state it is. Somewhere you're like a right wing anti immigration person, in a different constituency they need like a more working class, pro people, inclusive kind of a politician. And like, none of these people are real. None of these people are real. And we see it. We see this politics play out. US is one large corporation masquerading as a democracy, right? It's like you should take US politicians as seriously as you take speeches by the CEO of a company, of any company, who says we are going to be in sustainability. अबे यार, तुम ऑयल कंपनी हो. No, no, we are going to be into sustainability. We want to save the planet. Really, you're a mining corporation. You know, like that level of sincerity or insincerity that you expect from these vulture CEO capitalists is what you should expect from US politicians. But यहाँ कुछ और ही चल रहा है. यहाँ हम इसी में खुश है because he's a good looking guy. He says progressive things. Like I said, he may be a good politician. We don't know. You like, it's like, why are you getting excited in India? क्या तुम्हारे पास अपने कोई इशू नहीं है? और फिर the same people who are getting excited over Mamdani, like you're sitting in India, you're getting excited about a New York mayor election campaign because the guy in it is a good looking guy with a good looking wife, and he's talking about Bollywood and talking in Hindi and Urdu. And you have a problem that your railway minister goes to railway train side, crashes, and makes reels. Like, conceptually, they're not very. Ashwini Vaishnav and Mamdani are not very far apart. I know it feels like that. I know somebody will comment, like, oh, it's not so simple. Stop conflating the two things. I know. I know. I am sorry. I apologize. I remember things. And hence, I can contextualize things. I am naturally suspicious of politicians which come out of nowhere and then are everywhere. I am suggesting merely that same processes also prop up ministers and politicians of parties you don't like to do exactly the same thing. Through self marketing and a railway minister's, shameless posturing, or the aviation minister's shameless reels at the crash site, conceptually are the same thing. Taste wise, tonality wise, yeah, there is a difference, but you can't conceptually be okay with one and not okay with another because one is good looking and quotes Shah Rukh Khan and the other is from BJP. There you go. That's it. That doesn't mean I like BJP. That doesn't mean Mamdani is a bad politician. That doesn't mean anything. It just means everyone's gone mad. And I was saying this in my live shows that in this society, in India, especially amongst the educated English speaking elite Savarna sphere, you can't make any nuanced point. The biggest hot take that our society at this point can maybe process is, so like, सबसे बड़ी बात, like, इस this is the depth, like इससे ज्यादा बड़ा बात हम नहीं सुन सकते, इससे ज्यादा हम process नहीं कर सकते. The biggest hot take as a culture that we can kind of process right now is, are you ready for it? Maybe Mahinder Singh Dhoni was not the great finisher that we thought he was. Ooh, oh, Thala forever. उसी में 15 लोग आके मतलब मेरे को डेथ थ्रेट देके चले जाएंगे, राइट? बट आई थिंक that's the level of complexity. Like you go up to a Dhoni fan and you say that, you know what, like now that all that time has passed and we've been seeing his innings in IPL for the last 6 7 years, and you see his towards the end of his India career, maybe MS Dhoni ka this cult that he was a great finisher, maybe it was not, like maybe he was not that good at that. Like he was okay, he was not bad, but maybe he was not that good at it. And they will be like, what, how can you? But like somewhere in their mind they'll be like, hmm, huh, yeah, maybe you're right. I love MS Dhoni, I still love him, he's still my thala, but yeah, maybe you're right. Like that level of nuance कि आगे एज अ समाज, लाइक धोनी से आप शाहरुख खान तक भी नहीं जा सकते। बीजेपी तो बहुत दूर की बात है, ममदानी तो बहुत दूर की बात है, राइट? सो इंडिया पाकिस्तान तो मतलब भूल ही जाओ, राइट? सो अभी अभी बेस्ट होगा, somebody will comment under this video, oh he Buffalo is BJP supporter और BJP sympathizer, apologist, BJP apologist, और उसी के नीचे comment आएगा कि अबे टकले why are you smoking or something like that, ठीक है? You know you are having bad impact on youth, please don't follow me. I am 39 years old and आई हैव नॉट अचीव्ड एनीथिंग इन माई लाइफ, ठीक है? तो जो जो मैं कर रहा हूं वो मत करना। सो डोंट स्टार्ट अ पॉडकास्ट प्लीज, ओके? डोंट rant अबाउट savarnas, don't smoke, don't drink, don't eat KFC, don't don't anything, जो भी मैं कर रहा हूं मत करना। don't go bald, don't grow a beard, don't wear black t-shirt, right? जो 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 मैं कर रहा हूं मत कर, लाइक किसी चीज का कोई कॉन्टेक्स्ट तो बचा नहीं है। तो सिंपल, एवरीबडी हैज जस्ट रिग्रेस टू क्लास थ्री। तो क्लास थ्री की तरह जैसे टीचर आके बोलती थी, hey sit down, stand up, say good morning, say good night, whatever, just do that. That's the homework. There's nothing else more than that. Like you don't need to worry about the fact that one of the biggest news stories nobody has talked about, it's still the biggest news story, आज के इंडियन एक्सप्रेस हिंदू में फ्रंट पेज न्यूज आ रही है, जस्टिस यशवंत वर्मा के घर पे आग लगती है और उसके घर से ह्यूज अमाउंट्स ऑफ कैश मिलता है, राइट? लाइक फायर हुई तो अब people had to run away and fire brigade goes in, they find huge stacks and stacks of like cash bundles which are half burned. Now he can't explain why that money is there in his house, which clearly indicates judicial corruption at the highest level. This should be very, very worrying given that India has already seen a Dalit Chief Justice, Dalit judge, not Chief Justice, Dalit judge, who said that there is corruption amongst the highest judiciary. They all got together, they put him in jail, and basically he kind of had to leave. So now this story comes out, and then if you look at the decisions of the top judiciary in the last 10 15 years, you have Justice Ranjan Gogoi, who um, sat, like he was our chief justice at one point of the Supreme Court. He was accused of sexual harassment of his employee. He sat in judgment of the sexual harassment proceedings against himself, and like everybody was just like, oh, this is awkward, oopsie. And then he retires and goes from the judiciary and enters the parliament as a Lok Sabha, as a Rajya Sabha nominee from the BJP. And Only sensible thing that people could say about it was, well, the Congress also used to do things like this. Guys, if what the Congress used to do in the 60s and 70s and 80s is your benchmark, oh boy, then oh boy, everyone else looks better. Like, it's just so bizarre what is going on in the middle of all of this. Then that other goof, Manohar Lal Khattar, who was the chief minister of non-Jat chief minister of Haryana. This is why BJP keeps winning, right? Congress, like this election, like the Congress still went with Jat leadership in Haryana. Haryana election they should have won. I've done another whole episode on this, talked at length about this. But like BJP cracked Haryana as a formula 10 years ago, which is they'll not deal with Jats. Jats are the biggest, most dominant political group active. Bold move. They said we will not deal with Jats. We will deal with other OBCs who are lesser in number, who don't like the Jats because Jats dominate everything. And they won and they put like a non-Jat chief minister, Khattar, who's I think Khatri, which itself is incredible. In 2014-15 when it happened, I remember being shocked, like as somebody from North, like who follows North India politics. I was like, oh my fucking god, they put a non-Jat chief minister in Haryana. They pulled it off. Like it almost seemed like the anti-reservation rights of not anti-reservation right, the Jat uh, you know protests, because they said we are backward, we want whatever reservation or something like that. um, Almost tested this policy, but BJP stuck through with it. See, now that's the other thing. I Memory is a curse in this country under BJP in 2014. After 2014, in Gujarat, the Patidars came out on street, and in Haryana, the Jats came out on street. And I'm yet to see one political analysis which connects these developments, because these were traditionally Hindutva leaning communities, and BJP's pivot towards the non dominant OBC communities. It's almost like they have a relationship. It's almost like the party thinks that, oh, these guys are a little too difficult to control. It's better to deal with five smaller communities who will be grateful to us than deal with this one large chunk of community who are beginning to become difficult to manage. They have gone ahead and stitched together non-dominant OBC community vote banks in multiple states in India. But like nobody remembers these things, and life goes on. But I was mentioning Khattar in a different case. He's been farmed out from Haryana. BJP is still in power in Haryana, but they made Saini the chief minister, who's also an OBC, but like non-Jat OBCs. And Khattar, for his loyal service, has been made the union minister of power. So Khattarji has come out and given a statement which says, "Oh, AC temperatures in India need to be regulated." What a beautiful solution! I was in Delhi, Gurgaon last week, like I was saying earlier in the episode. As somebody who's ethnically from North India, has spent a lot of time in North India. As a kid, I have been in Punjab, Haryana a lot. I love Delhi. Delhi is one of my favorite cities in the world. I've lived in Delhi for a few years. I have never felt Delhi that hard. It felt like even at 6:30 p.m. in the evening, it felt like I was standing next to a tandoor. The air seemed on fire. And God bless them, my live show in Delhi, Happy High, like their AC didn't work. So like I went in on stage like sweating buckets, and like the audience is like stuffy and hot. It was like everybody was like very game, and they were like, no, no, we will. That's what I love about my audience, people who listen to the show, people who come for my live shows, people who listen to the podcast, subscribe to it. There's such a committed audience. They're like, no, no, it's बहुत uncomfortable है, लेकिन हम झेल लेंगे, and they push through with it. But it was organizers were not to blame. Matlab, they tried their best, bichare. But it was such a difficult experience to get that done. So, like I said, doesn't really matter because now Khattarji wants like that's the discourse. Like that makes the news that he's talking about regulating AC temperatures. Nobody's going to connect this to who is Khattar. Nobody's going to connect this to Delhi development plans. Nobody is going to connect this to in larger urgency need for a environmental action plan for our cities. I'm not talking about India in general, biodiversity and things like that, which by the way is also fucked because another one of the biggest stories which nobody has memory space for is the destruction of Great Nicobar. Um, Andaman and Nicobar are also part of like India, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It's not just a GK question. People live there, and M. Rajshekhar, whose book, despite the state, I really really like. Did a and more recently he wrote about Vantara, I think, Ambani's, uh, zoo, whatever you want to call it. Speaking of Ambani, digression. In this last month, in the middle of an IPL and a stampede, and the airline crash in India and Pakistan, like sending drones, and now Israel and Gaza every day. Greta Thunberg is going, like, what a brave woman, like, more power to her. Like, Greta Thunberg is going, and then she's getting taken out, and then Ukraine doing this audacious attack on Russia, and Russia is now not backing down, and Trump is losing his mind, and all of the, like, Trump Elon Musk fight, and all in the middle of all of this, one day I see on Twitter Anant Dada Ambani is trending. So Anant Ambani has a PR team which is trying to center, like, it's a very Maharashtrian thing to add like a moniker, like, like Dada leader, something like that. So Anant Dada Ambani, you heard it first here. Actually, you heard it first on Twitter, but like none of you remember it because there's no memory. Anant Dada Ambani is being created as a brand, as a mass connect brand for this guy. This guy is going to be launched as an is the big public facing figure. You wait, because his sister is going to inherit the elite art empire that the mother is building. Nita Ambani has gone on to become the biggest player in the Indian high art industry. Okay, the high art, India Art Fair, art curations. She's built this giant Nita Ambani Cultural Center in, like, like I did a Patreon episode on it, like reviewing the Geo World Center, true monument of national importance. I think Taj Mahal should be removed from our list of wonders, and it should be this thing that Nita Ambani created. But Nita Ambani is not just making these great architectural marvels and running Mumbai Indians. She's also trying to bring the Ambani name into the world of high art, and kind of like start the process of legitimizing the Ambanis as the new Tagores of India or whatever, right? Um, and it will take some time, but after Nita, that part of the process will be taken over by her daughter. I think Isha Ambani is her name, and she's already, like, managing all these luxury brands and deals and things like that. So she'll take care of the sophisticated part of it. I think Anant Ambani and his wife Radhika, I think her name, like, they will become more of the mass connect brand. So hence this Anant Dada Ambani, like that seems to be the direction the Ambanis are going, which is very fascinating. But like, while like I digressed on the Ambanis, I wanted to go back and talk about this great story that M. Rajshekhar had written on Great Nicobar Island, and how the entire destruction of the island was being done by the Indian state because, like, it has strategic value for like port development and stuff like that. It's a whole thing, and you can see how all of these You can see how all these stories are playing out around us. And उस बायोडाइवर्सिटी की तो बात मैं कर ही नहीं रहा, right? I'm talking about the urban plan. Every summer there's a heat wave, every monsoon there are floods. This happened year after year in big cities. Sometimes it's Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai. This is a big crisis, and there is no urgency, and we have global examples. Everybody in India loves comparing themselves to Beijing. Beijing cleaned up its air, and there's a lot that you can learn. Like those, there have been case studies written on it, right? Show me one action plan, except like, okay, odd even day hum kar lenge, या पंजाब में don't let farmers burn the stubble or what. Like, that's not what we are talking about, guys. That's not it. We are talking about something very different. What is your 20-year plan? What is your 30-year plan? Right? Are we going to move towards um, public transportation, sustainable energy? Because your cities are already doomed. They already don't work. In 15, 20 years, are you going to create decentralized geographies of development? If you don't do it, people from Darbhanga, Bihar, and Guntur, Telangana are going to keep coming to the big cities because there are no jobs here, right? So are you plan? Is there a plan? Is there a 20-year plan? Or will people keep coming to the big cities, the Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad in millions every year? And eventually, like, no matter how big or resilient a city is, when you add so many people to it every year, it's going to collapse. Like, we are literally, like I said, no, there's no collective memory. We are looking at the fire and we are walking straight to it because we can't contextualize that this is dangerous. It's over, you guys. It's over. The good news is Israel and Iran are at war now. Beautiful. Fantastic. Because the India Pakistan war was a little risky, because when Pakistan was sending it was real, especially North India and West India was real. Things were coming over the border. You had to wake up in the night, see क्या हो रहा है, maybe missiles आ जाएंगे. It was risky. यहाँ पर all the missile and ballistic missile bombing is happening, there. So there's no risk. You can just go on your WhatsApp group and like just let it hang. वही कर रहे थे when India and Pakistan were going like, oh, this is S-400. We have knocked out Karachi and everything. That's what people were doing, and maybe it helped. I don't know. I don't want to say anything anti-national. I didn't want to come off like that. I'm scared of FIRs. Okay, but like, what I meant is that when people were like going on WhatsApp groups and saying, "Oh, this is हमारी anti ballistic missile ये है, our Rafale jet is this and Pakistan jet is that." The danger was that you were still in the war zone. Now you can do exactly that kind of conversation about Iran and Israel war. Beautiful. Israel has this plane, Iran has this plane, they have this missile, they have that missile, and there is no danger of any of that plane or missile landing in your house. Beautiful. इससे बढ़िया और क्या चाहिए? दिन रात अब यही बात करो. यही this is where we are, where like goldfish memories which can't remember anything. We just keep jabbering, we just keep blah 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 blah, blah. And I'm not talking about like people on the internet, like teens who are tweeting edgy things or trolls. I'm talking about the lack of depth in the educated, progressive urban elites who keep repeating the same tropes. Is Lapata ladies progressive? Is Lapata ladies offensive? Is Lapata ladies empowering women? Is Lapata ladies, um, appropriating culture? Like, लिखो इसके ऊपर 15 लिस्टिकल दिन रात. एक्चुअली आपका कोई ओपिनियन नहीं है, बिकॉज यू हैव टू रीड अ लिस्टिकल टू हैव एन ओपिनियन ऑन इटसेल्फ. Doesn't matter whatever you learn from the listicle, because you'll forget it tomorrow, because everybody's forgotten things. And we'll be back here talking about Shah Rukh Khan ka selfie next year with Mamdani, and like Mamdani will come to Bollywood, and maybe he'll come to Jaipur Lit Fest. He'll, whether he wins New York mayor or not, उसको बुला लेंगे ये किसी एक जयपुर लिट फेस्ट में, या अपना शशि थरूर विल गो टू न्यूयॉर्क फेस्ट और समथिंग लाइक दैट, वेयर दे विल लाइक दिस विल हैपन, यू वेट फॉर इट, यू वेट फॉर इट 100%, ये होने वाला है। एंड इन द मीन वाइल रील्स बनती रहेंगी, डिजास्टर्स होते रहेंगे। व्हाट अ व्हाट अ ग्रेट टाइम टू बी अलाइव। Hey, you finished the whole episode. Well done. I can't believe you can tolerate my voice for so long. But in case you liked what you heard, you might consider also joining for the exclusive episode that I do for my paying subscribers, because that show gets into slightly edgier topics and I don't really want to put it out in the public domain. It's available on the Patreon as well as on YouTube through the join option. And in case you don't want to drop extra money, I completely understand. Please keep listening to my regular show. I'm grateful as ever. There's a buy me a coffee link in case you want to drop some love. Otherwise, just have a nice day. Stay being awesome. Bye bye.